Continuing our conversation with Mayor President Broome. Roll it, Kirk. Last week, we started a conversation with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. There was an invitation to the Edwards campaign to have them join us for this conversation. They declined, and so here we are. Last week, we spoke about economic development. We talked about infrastructure here in the parish. I want to continue the conversation to talk about public safety now. That's always at the top of everyone's mind, is crime. But I want to begin with this efficiency study that was put out by some business leaders a few weeks ago that talked about, as a function of efficiency, maybe there should be a consolidation of EBRSO and BRPD. Of course, this was not met with smiles from the chief and the sheriff. What say you, Madam Mayor President?
Well, I have to commend the business community first and foremost for wanting to be a part of coming up with a solution to make our community safer. So I applaud them for doing that. I believe that the report certainly had some insightful information, but at the end of the day, a lot of good ideas have big price tags on them, or have price tags on them that we have not even been able to identify. I know and I believe that the goal is, once again, to move us towards a safe community. I get the desire to develop efficiencies. In fact, we had someone come in and do an efficiency study for the Baton Rouge Police Department, and as a result of that, we made some changes to move us to be more efficient. One of the changes that we made was a consolidation of our our helicopters. Aviation. And so we're always looking at efficiencies, but we have to understand that consolidation may and may not be the cure for a safer community. So I believe that there's a lot more work that needs to, and thought that needs to go in that, and conversations with the community that needs to go in that. Remember, we have different law enforcement agencies throughout.
About 10 of them. Across the city parish.
So this should not just be solely connected to the Baton Rouge Police Department, and I have to give our officers at the Baton Rouge Police Department gratitude for the work that they do to protect and serve.
You know, there has been a shortage. There's a shortage in law enforcement agencies across the country, and we are no different. How are you addressing the officer shortage here at BRPD?
We're addressing the officer shortage by having two classes for new recruits coming up in the 2025 budget. In the past years, we have given incentives to recruit individuals and to retain many of our BRPD officers. Chief Morris, I love this initiative that he has started, and that's that everyone has to go out on uniform patrol at least once a month. So it doesn't matter, he goes out. It doesn't matter if you're deputy chief, lieutenant, sergeant, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're part of the mayor's detail. You've got to go out once a month on uniform patrol.
What's the goal for that?
I believe it's twofold. The goal is certainly to keep everyone's skills sharp, but it's also to put individuals out in the community to address some of the shortage that we do have. And listen, you said something early on about recruiting people and for police as law enforcement. And we both know, Clay, that just like public service is not for the faint of heart, being a police officer is definitely not for the faint of heart in this day and age.
Yeah, it's tough. Alyssa, we'll get out of this segment a little faster so we can come back and talk more about public safety with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome back in just a moment. Talking with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome about crime here in Baton Rouge. And look, you've heard the stories. You've been at forums. You've been at community events. People here don't feel safe. They worry about being out. They worry about their kids. What's your message to the residents of this town who are so concerned about their safety and the safety of their families?
Well, first and foremost, I want everyone to know that the safety of the citizens of Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish is a top priority for me. And I will continue to work with law enforcement and our community programs to make sure that we are creating a safer space for everyone. But I would also remind people as we talk about public safety that we cannot allow ourselves to be gripped by fear of a minority of individuals who are committing crimes. Our chief often said that if most of the people who are committing crimes are in a specific circle, and I'm not talking geographically, I'm talking they're people who know each other, who hang out with each other, etc. Many of our issues are surrounding domestic violence. So there's a connection. So we need to be aware of that, and that the average citizen is safe in Baton Rouge. There are going to be some exceptions all over America, but the average citizen is safe, and we're going to continue to do work towards that.
But that's the thing. As true as that may be, the perception is that isn't true. So how do you address that? I mean, most people go about their lives and don't encounter any violent activity, but the perception is otherwise. How do you address the perception?
It's a challenge fighting the perception when media on a daily basis leads with crime. I mean, they lead with that. And so you will feel like, if you look at a daily dose of news, that everything is bad. But we have to point to the fact that we have given our police officers raises. We've equipped them with a new fleet. We also have 21st century policing in place, even with our technology, with the real-time crime center. And we also know, and you alluded to this earlier, Clay, that crime is very comprehensive, it's complex. So we have an 18.5% poverty rate right here in Baton Rouge. That means that we have to mitigate poverty. One of the ways we do that is reach out and offer a response to our young people through programs. We've invested $1 million through Youth Lab to help support programs. We're working to develop, in partnership, the Inspiration Center. We're putting students to work every year, 500 plus, through the Mayor's Youth Workforce Experience. So these are opportunities, these are programs that can help change the trajectory of a young person's life, where they choose to go on a different path, and they see opportunities. So that's what we have to focus on, and I believe when we come together as a community and look at the issues that we are facing, that's going to help us in the area of public safety. That's
where we talked about investment and the show that aired last week, but that's where investment is so important. When these kids are hopeless and are without skills to go and do for themselves, they end up just being in survival mode, which will put them and the people around them at risk.
We have to be proactive and not reactive.
Well, and you know, we've talked about this before. You could put 1,000 more police officers on the streets, but if we don't address the issues that create the crime and the criminal activity, it never goes away. And there's cities around the country that are using investment in mentorship and education and to get kids to choose something better. We have to do that too here, I believe. Yeah, and I mean, everybody agrees. We cannot police our way out of a crime. It takes a twofold or multifold approach to address crime. All right, so we'll take a quick break and come back and talk with Mayor Broome about the city of St. George. She's currently in negotiations now with them, this 2% sales tax issue. We'll talk with Mayor Broome next. And here is where you can catch the show every week, streaming on Fridays on the WAFB app. And there's where you can catch us on Friday nights and Saturday afternoon. Back with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. Now let's transition to the city of St. George and where we are in process with them. I know that you and Mayor Yates have been meeting to work through what this 2% tax is going to do to both your budget and how the transition goes. Where is that in process right now? Well, it's still in the negotiation process. I'm going to consistently say that I am optimistic, and I will say even today I'm more optimistic that we will come to a resolution, and at the end of the day that the city of Baton Rouge will
remain intact, and the parish of East Baton Rouge will certainly be successful as well.
What is your working relationship with Mayor Yates?
You know, I have a great working relationship, I think, with all of the mayors of municipalities, including Mayor Yates. You have to understand that Mayor Yates and I are just getting to know each other.
Sure.
I didn't know him prior, and our getting to know each other is in the midst of a negotiation. Mm-hmm. It's not like this city already existed and he was just elected. It's a different from the relationships that I have with the other mayors. But we do have a very cordial relationship, and I look forward to continuing to build a relationship with him.
A part of the budget cuts saw some money being pulled from BRPD, and I know the chief talked about it. He was here last week about working through what that looks like. How do you keep your police department functioning at an optimum level after having lost this revenue to the budget?
So the BRPD budget is still the largest part of the budget of our $1 billion city parish budget. Chief Morris, I'm sure, told you that he recommended how we make adjustments in the police department's budget. In addition to that, we have some extra ARPA funds that we are going to send to the Baton Rouge Police Department to help with overtime, because one of the things that happens, and this is a good part of our city, we have a number of events, you know, whether it's a marathon or whether it's a festival, and we have to staff those events with our BRPD. So I'm going to put some money from our ARPA dollars to help compensate in that area. So we will not, I don't believe, miss a beat in terms of our service to the citizens of Baton Rouge.
And he certainly didn't allude to this, but this won't result in any job cuts at BRPD at all.
No, listen, our budget has no layoffs, has no cuts in employment. And I'm very proud of that because we've been fiscally responsible. One of the goals that I had with our 25 budget is that I didn't want to see any layoffs and people lose their jobs. So many of the positions were positions that were never filled from the very beginning. So I look forward to working with Chief Morris.
The criminal justice system obviously is larger than just BRPD here, and all of the partners involved, and you mentioned the municipalities. I do think the parish has so much potential going forward because we have so many developments coming here. If you're successful in this election going forward, how do you create synchronicity between all of the cities moving in a similar direction? Because the personalities, depending on where you are, of the communities are very different.
Yeah, the communities are very different, but there are some shared goals. And in my communications with the mayor of Zachary, Baker, and Central, we find that commonality. And most recently, we had a neighborhood convention, and we all had a roundtable discussion, the mayors of all the municipalities. And we talked about the assets in our particular communities, but we also talked about the shared goals. And as the parish president, I want to see them be successful. Because when they're successful, our parish is successful. That's why I've provided resources to every one of those communities to help them become stable, whether it's with their police, fire department, whether it's with water management and drainage in their areas. I have reached out and responded to them.
Has St. George been kind of involved in that fraternal unit of leaders yet? They're so new, I know, but how's that transition
I would
happening?
say it is emerging. That relationship is emerging, and I believe when we close the when we close this conversation on our relationship from a city parish point of view with the new city in a positive way, that they too will be a part of these conversations.
All right, one more segment with the mayor talking about legacy and what the next 4 years might look like. And by the way, you can catch the C-Suite right now. If you don't have that WAFB app, you better grab it. A bunch of great shows are there. Check them out. So back with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome, one more segment. We've talked about a number of things. We've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about economic development. We've talked about crime in the city of Baton Rouge, the city of St. George, and what that means going forward. I want to talk a little bit about, if you're successful, what the next 4 years looks like for the people who live here. It's no secret that with this term, you said this is it. This is a swan song. If you win this election, this is the last time you'll be on anybody's ballot. What would be your goals?
My goals for the future of Baton Rouge would include a unified community around our shared goals. I talked about that neighborhood convention. It was very enlightening about how everyone came together because our neighborhoods desire the same thing. So I want to see that go to another level of implementation in neighborhoods. I also want to see that D grade go up in the next 4 years. I want to see that incrementally go up. And I want to see our young professionals find their place and their home here in Baton Rouge through career opportunities. So we're going to lean in on some and convene some not only conversations, but make sure that we equip them and help them if they want to be an entrepreneur, send them to a space where they can get that additional information that they need through our supplier diversity program.
It's been so much that's happened since day one of you taking office. You take office here in Baton Rouge on the heels of the incident that took place in the summer of 2016 and then the flood that took place after that. We've had some hurricanes here that have caused some upheaval for people here, and then the coronavirus 4 years ago cast a big cloud over not just our city but our country. A lot of us lost people we cared about to that illness. And you know, going forward on the horizon, knock on wood, you don't have anything like that on the brink of another term. You mentioned unity before. I truly believe people are in need of some calm. How do you facilitate that?
Well, you facilitate calm by leading with calm, but also by convening people, bringing people together. You know, I find that people come together around sports, they come together around music, and I believe there will be some initiatives that will help do that. But I believe people are going to come together because we have some very transformative projects on the horizon. Whether we're talking about Memorial Stadium, whether we're talking about Southern University bluffs to attract people to see our Mississippi River, or whether we are talking about a new River Center and Conference Center downtown. I believe all of those new transformative projects will help convene people as well.
You know, Josh and I were talking about your affection for the riverfront. So I guess I'm not going to let you get out of here without talking a little bit about tell me about that, because I mean that's something that you bring up all the time. What exactly does that look like?
Well, we have to accentuate our assets. We are a great city here in Baton Rouge, and one of our strongest assets is the Mississippi River.
Correct.
So I do have a vision, and it will start unfolding in the next 4 years. Might not complete it until after I leave office, but it includes connecting Southern University, the bluffs there, with our downtown area, creating an entertainment space there, and then creating on the brink of LSU, Nicholson Drive, a park that the citizens of Baton Rouge can help curate. That's just one of many projects that I believe will be an infusion for the future. And Clay, if I may say this, you know, I've said it on the campaign trail, the next 4 years is really not so much about Sharon Weston Broome creating a legacy. It's about the legacy for Baton Rouge. We have a great city with great people, with great assets, with great culture, universities, and I want to see us uplift our community and celebrate our community.
You know, it's so interesting because I tell people all the time that I travel a lot, but I love coming home. I love the people here, the food, this time of the year, especially when the weather is so fantastic outside. But I think for Baton Rouge, we have always just been in search of that thing about us that people say, that's what Baton Rouge is known for. New Orleans is known for conferences and festivals. How do you achieve that here too? Because we're a college town, but I think we want to be more than that.
Yeah, we're more than a college town.
Right.
We're more than a college town, but we have to embrace our identity. We have to embrace the aspects of Baton Rouge that make us unique from New Orleans. We have to embrace the fact that the cost of living is pretty good here in Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
We have to make sure that specifics like home ownership becomes more of a reality for the citizens here. We need to have walkable communities. We need to have people who have access to a park close to their home. And so these are all of, I believe, some of the highlights and assets that we need to accentuate and look towards as we look at the future. I
got about a minute. What are the final thoughts that you want to share with people before they cast their votes? And some may have already done that, but what would you like to share with them?
I want to thank the citizens of Baton Rouge first and foremost for allowing me to be your mayor for the next for the last 8 years. I want to complete the job that I've started, but we can do that together. I believe all of us want to see a bright future for Baton Rouge, and together we can make that happen.
The biggest thing that you've learned about yourself in this process as mayor president, you've been a state senator, state representative. What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in this?
I've learned that my faith has kept me stable, and that I can indeed lead, whether, as one of my friends says, it's through grit or grace.
Through grit or through grace? Well, we've enjoyed the last 4 segments with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome talking about a number of issues here in the city. And it's, look, get out and vote. It's the biggest obligation we have to the people who paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be able to do it. Get out and vote. Don't forget, you can catch the show every Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. on WAFB Plus. It repeats on Saturday, 3 p.m. And then catch the C-Suite as well on the WAFB app. And you can catch us on the socials and all these places. Thank you, Mayor, for spending this time with us.
Thanks for having me.
See y'all next week.